So you have out a piece of notebook paper, you labeled it 9.1 to 6 quiz review, and you're writing down this question. This will be in your notebook check. And I'll give you a second. All right, so do segments with lengths 11 feet, 12 feet, and 20 feet form a triangle. So how do we figure out if the segments form a triangle?
Add the smallest two together.
Add the smallest two together. 11 plus 12 is 23. And then what do I do with that information? How do I know that it is a triangle?
Because it's bigger.
It's bigger, yeah. 23 is bigger than 20, so this is a triangle. But that doesn't tell me what kind. What do I have to do with these sides to figure out what kind of triangle it is? Pythagorean theorem. So on the quiz, I'm just seeing people make mistakes on which of these sides would be C. A lot of people think it's literally just the third side listed. But what does it have to be? The biggest side, which, yes, in this case, it is the third number listed, but it's the biggest side every time. So 20 squared. And then that means 11 squared plus 12 squared. Okay, so go ahead and just type 11 squared plus 12 squared into your calculator. I know 20 squared is 400. 265. Okay, so these are not equal. So they're obviously not a right triangle. What you need to do is look at which side is the hypotenuse squared. So which of these numbers represents the hypotenuse squared? 400. Is it smaller or bigger?
Bigger.
It is bigger. So what kind of triangle is this? Obtuse. Okay, so you look at the hypotenuse squared. If it is smaller, it would be acute. If it is bigger, like in this case, it will be obtuse. Okay, so the second question you're going to write down, go ahead and take a moment to draw this one. Is the following triangle a right triangle? So we've got 14, we've got 4, square root of 19, we've got 10. So how do I decide if it is a right triangle? Pythagorean theorem.
Yeah.
We need to see if a squared plus b squared equals c squared. So again, c would be the longest side. Which of these is the longest side?
19.
Yeah, 4 square root of 19. And that means a and b are 14 and 10. What is 14 squared plus 10 squared?
196.
It's 296.
2?
Okay, so you only typed in 14 squared.
I have 14 times 14.
That's fine, which is 14 squared. You just found this number. Plus 100, because 10 squared is 100.
You're right.
It's 296. It's okay. We just did it all at once. Okay, what do we get for 4 square root of 19 squared? How do we do that? Nope. No, it's a billion %, not 76. If you typed it in like this, you did not type it in correctly. How do I type this into our calculator? Parentheses. I just said 76 is not the answer. It is, guys, it is 304. Here is why. The whole thing is being squared. The 4 is being squared. The square root of 19 is being squared. Y'all remember this? It's the same as 4 squared times the square root of 19 squared. Now think about this. 4 times 2 is, 4 squared is 16, and then the square root of 19 squared is 19. There is no way that makes 70, whatever you said. Okay, it makes 304.
Wait, hold on.
We still haven't finished the question. You need to put the parentheses where I put them.
I did. And it said,
You did not? You put the 2 on the inside?
no, I made sure I put the 2 on the outside.
If it said error, then your parenthesis was under the radical, and it should not be under the radical. So type in a parenthesis,
Alright.
and then a 4, then your radical button.
Okay.
And then your 19.
19.
Now use the arrow to the right to get out from under the radical.
And then another parenthesis.
Then a parenthesis,
Yep.
and then a square.
That's what I did.
No, you did not. Hit enter.
Oh. Yeah.
304. It worked that time.
Oh my gosh. Okay,
Yeah.
so is this a right triangle? It is not a right triangle. You should, however, be able to decide what kind it is, though.
Obtuse.
It is
Obtuse.
obtuse. You were right the first time. This is the hypotenuse square, that 304. It's bigger, so it would be obtuse. Then we're going to solve something like this. Go ahead and write solve the right triangle and draw our triangle. So solve the right triangle.
I would love to review.
When it says solve the right triangle, what is it telling me to do?
Find the
All angles and sides. So what is missing? We're missing DE. We're missing the measure of angle E and the measure of angle D. You need to make sure that I can locate your answer. Put them all in one place. That would be wonderful. Make sure you box in your answer. Which one do we want to find first?
X.
Sure, DE. There is no X here, bud.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
We're going to find DE, which is a side, and we know two of the sides. So how do I find the third side if I know two sides? Pythagorean theorem. A squared plus B squared equals C squared. Which of these sides is C?
14. I know the missing
Yeah,
side.
the missing side. So you can call it X, which means A and B are 8 and 14. Just type that whole thing in your calculator. What is 8 squared plus 14 squared?
2, 6.
260. Okay. Equals X squared. To get rid of a square, I need to do the square root. So what is the square root of 260 rounded to the nearest tenth? 16.1. So make sure you write off to the side the length of DE equals 16.1. Okay. Now we find angles. Which angle do we want to find first?
E.
Sure. So the only way to find an angle or to have an angle is to use a trig ratio. So from E, what kind of side is 14?
Opposite.
And what kind of side is 8? Adjacent. So which trig ratio are we going to use?
Tangent.
Tangent from angle E equals the opposite, 14, over the adjacent, 8. I want to get angle E by itself. It's attached to tangent. So how do I get rid of that tangent? The inverse. Yep, so hit that shift, tangent, and then a 14 over 8.
60.3.
We all agree? 60.3 degrees. So again, make sure you're writing it all in the same location so that I can find it. Last would be angle D. So from D, what kind of side is 8? Opposite and 14. So which trig ratio are we going to use? Tangent again. But from D, so our fraction's going to be different. The opposite is 8. The adjacent, 14. Use the inverse. Shift tangent. What'd you say? Correct. 29.7 degrees.
Forward.
Make sure to box your answer.
Could you have taken that out of 90? I mean,
Subtracted it from 90.
yeah. I mean, no. Out of 180, added them two numbers that you got.
Yeah. You can, but this is what I've been telling you about it. If you were wrong with this angle, then you would be wrong with this angle as well.
So it's a good
Yeah. You can use the 180 fact to check yourself. Yes, sir. The last one you're going to draw, solve the right triangle. Go ahead and draw this triangle. Okay, so again, solving the right triangle means find all missing sides and angles. So what are we going to be finding in this triangle?
T, RT.
Angle T, RT, correct, and then RS. Good. So which one do we want to find first? Yeah, we can find angle T. What do you know about the three angles in a triangle? They add up to 180. So what is 90 plus 57? 147. 180 minus 147 is 33. Good.
Why did you find the angle first?
Just because we can. It's really easy to do, that's all. There's no proper order. You just find whatever. Do we want to find RT or RS first? Sure. So RT, what kind of side is RT in comparison to 57? Hypotenuse. And then what kind of side is 15? Opposite. So which trig ratio are we going to use? Sine. From 57 equals the opposite, 15 over the hypotenuse. I'm going to keep calling it H. You can call it whatever you want. Do I need to flip this one? I do. So 1 over sine of 57 equals H over 15. Multiply by 15. We agree? 17.9. All right, and then the last side would be RS. What kind of side is RS? Adjacent. And then we still want to use the side we know, which is 15.
Wait, so RS, we're looking from the angle.
No, RS is a side.
Right.
We're finding a side.
Oh,
Not an
okay,
angle.
yeah. Wait, hold on. Since we know all the angles, which angle will we look at? The one we already.
I would just use the one that you were given,
Oh, okay, yeah. Wait. So that
which is
means-
57. I would use 57.
So it's 50.
I'm getting there. I just,
So ST would be opposite.
yes.
Oh, okay. Alright.
So which trig ratio are we going to use? Tangent from 57 equals the opposite, 15, over the adjacent. Do I need to flip it?
Yes.
I do. So 1 over tangent of 57 equals the adjacent over 15. All right, multiply by 15. And what do we get? 9.7. Good. Okay, the last thing we talk about, and you don't even have to write this on your paper, is just you need to be able to know the difference between what it's asking for you to solve for here and what it's asking you to solve for here. What is missing in this equation? An angle, A. So how do you solve for an angle? Shift, the inverse. So you'd hit shift sine of 0.75 and you'll get a number. Go ahead and do that. You're going to get an angle. If you get an angle that is something's that like very, very tiny, like not even over 1, I would definitely second guess whether you typed in the correct thing.
48.6.
So
48.6.
48.6. Good. Whereas here, is the angle missing? So are we going to use the shift sign? No. Focus. You'd hit sine of 75. Do not hit shift. And then tell me what we get. 0.97 or something? Yeah, something like that. Okay.
Which one was the right one?
There's not a right and a wrong. These two are just different.
No, I'm saying the right side.
This one, you just type in sine of 75. Okay. You'll have one of each on the quiz. Make sure you know how to type in your calculator for each.